G'day, legends. G'day, superstars. It's Peps, and I'm here with Tip Outs Round 20 tips for a massive week of AFL footy. And it's all kicking off tonight, 7:50 p.m. our time here in Melbourne. Collingwood Magpies versus the Carlton Blues. Carlton are on a 5-game winning streak, 50 points and more. Doesn't mean a thing because you're playing the big boys at the big ground where the big boys play in September. We're talking about Collingwood, and Collingwood are going to win this one, in my humble opinion, by a minimum of 5 goals and put another team in their place. It's going to happen tonight. Carlton are going to feel the full wrath of the Collingwood army, and it is going to be a devastation of the biggest degree. All right, let's head over to Geelong versus Fremantle over at GMHBA Stadium. I'll tell you what, Geelong, haven't they got the best home ground advantage in the league? They get to play at a ground that nobody can play out, in conditions that nobody wants to play in a town nobody wants to visit. Only people from Geelong want to go down there, and in a massive road trip for the Fremantle Dockers. If their season could not get any worse, it is going to happen tomorrow down there at 1:45 p.m. at the GMHBA Stadium, as I mentioned. It's going to be a 7-goal win, and that's if I'm being, to be honest, on the lighter side. This could get ugly. This could be at least a Peter McKenna. Could be more. 10-goal win to Geelong if they pull their fingers out. Fremantle, you just keep losing because that gives my boys pick 4 at the moment. You never know. Could be pick 3 if teams aren't below them. Keep it a winner. All right, Western Bulldogs versus the Giants. Now, that is going to be bring your thermals tomorrow at Ballarat Mars Stadium. It is going to be absolutely freezing. And unless you have barracking for the Western Bulldogs, there is no reason to get out of the lounge room and sit by the fire. Throw on the Foxtel or the KO, and this is how you want to watch the game. Giants, been magnificent so far this year, but the Western Bulldogs, I just think, in the cold conditions, they love it down there. The doggies like a scrap down at Ballarat, their second home ground, and they'll take this one by 2 goals, but don't be surprised if the Giants put their foot down and take a big scalp in the doggies and potentially, what not a lot of people saw, them playing finals football this year. Talking about big games, everybody, we know what's going to be happening up in Queensland, and we know that is the Q Clash, 4:35 p.m. at Gold Coast Stadium. Gold Coast up and down like a yo-yo. The Lions, 1 minute they're the kings of the jungle, and then they're the princesses of the paddock. We don't know which Gold Coast is going to turn up, but I can tell you now the right Brisbane is going to turn up, and they're going to take this one out by 2 goals. But I would say this, Gold Coast hate Brisbane, and Brisbane hate Gold Coast. And it would not surprise me if Ben King, who hasn't had a kick for weeks, unless he gets dropped, could have a shining moment potentially down back. Try something different, Gold Coast. What have you got to lose, Stephen King? It will be a 2-goal victory. Could go either way, or Brisbane could blow them out of the water. But I'm going with 2 goals simply because, hey, I feel like it. Essendon versus the Sydney Swans at Marvell Stadium, 7:25 p.m. This is the evening game to have with your fish and chips after you've got home from the local footy, or unless you've been at home in front of the fire watching the Ballarat game. Essendon without Draper, without Stringer, I think they're just going to find it too difficult, and I think the end of the season is starting to wear on them. Sydney have been on a bit of a roll over the last couple of weeks, and I probably have a little bit more faith in Sydney at the moment when I look at these two teams. And Buddy's been in a little bit of form as well too. Errol Goulden's been sensational on that wing all season, all Australian for my opinion. They're going to take this one out by 4 goals. But Essendon do what Essendon do, and they could surprise a lot of people or fall in a complete heap. I don't think it's going to be heapage, but I think the Swans will swoon over Marvell tomorrow evening. And the last game, this is going to be a belter, the showdown. It is 13th versus 2nd, but it is Rocky versus Apollo. It is Mr. T versus Rocky. It is Drago versus Rocky. Hey, it's Rocky versus Bullwinkle. It is going to be an absolute belter. I know Port have a couple out. Doesn't really mean much. I think the big loss for Adelaide is going to be Rankin, and they're going to find it very, very hard to overcome a Port team who is playing some crackerjack football, equal first best team in the league, in my humble opinion, besides Collingwood. And they're going to win this one. And it's going to be tight, though. I will still say this one is going to be a 10-pointer, 2 goals at the most, but it could swing either way. If Tex gets on a bit of a roll, watch out, Power. You might be ending up in a blackout, but I think Rankin is going to be too much of a loss, even though Rory Laird does come back in. All right, let's have it over to Sunday. let's go back to Marvell Stadium. Hawks versus the Saints. Geez, didn't the Saints get an absolute shock of their life last week against North Melbourne? Everybody was hoping North were going to win that one. Unfortunately, they didn't. Hawks have been pretty good, I must admit, for what they have gone through the last number of weeks, whether it's injuries, whether it's suspensions, etc. Sicily is the man for Hawthorn. There is no Hawthorn without Sicily. That saying, though, I think St Kilda have got the chance to be playing finals, and that was the shock that they needed last week. And they'll take this game out quite easily, I think. They'll win this one by maybe 3 to 4 goals. Could be more if the midfielders of St Kilda get forward and kick some goals, which they haven't really been doing. So hopefully they got the shock of their life. And Mitchy Owens, I hope you have an absolute blinder to keep my chances of winning the Rising Star multi that I've been praying for all season. All right, this is a game that everybody is looking forward to because it could potentially shape not just the top 8, but also the top 4. We're talking about Richmond versus Melbourne. It is 3:20 p.m. at the MCG Melbourne. Last couple of weeks have just scraped across the line. They're playing some okay footy, not brilliant footy, but they're playing a bit more faster movement through the middle. They are letting a few more goals seep through in the back end, but they are making it up at the forward end of the ground. So they just need to keep winning to keep that top 4 spot. They're 2 games clear at the moment. And if GWS get over the Western Bulldogs, it potentially could be 3 and virtually lock it in with 4 games to go after this one. Richmond, though, been playing some pretty good football. Great comeback victory against the Hawks the other weekend. 1 point. I will say I just have a little bit more faith that Melbourne have a lot more to play for. Richmond will end up in 9th, and won't that be fun? Even though they haven't done it for quite a while. It's like bourbon and Coke. It's like cheese and crackers. It's like Grange and rich people. Richmond and 9th just go together so well. But I'm tipping the D's to take this one out by around about 3 goals, but it could be a lot bigger if they play the football and the fast football they played a little bit against Brisbane and also against Adelaide the week before. All right, and we're talking about the last game of the year, 18th versus 17th. This, funny enough, will be an interesting one. West Coast versus North. Over in WA, 4:40 p.m. Melbourne time. I'm actually going with North. I have a lot more faith in North. Shuey's not going to be playing for West Coast. Petreski Seaton's out as well too. Just some big losses. They are terrible. Well, there's terrible, there's woeful. Go down about another 3 levels, and you're not even where West Coast are. They are an embarrassment. They are a shambles. They are a disgrace. And it is actually quite funny for all of us in the Eastern States watching that team who have dominated for years falling in a complete heap. And North, you know what? They had a massive chance to win against St Kilda last week. They didn't get across the line. You know what? That's okay. They had a crack, and that's all we're looking forward to. But I'm telling you, with Nick Larkey in forward, who I did pick to win the Coleman at the start of the year, considering this team is sitting 17th, is sitting 3rd on the ladder, is looking pretty good. He won't win it, but I was, pretty good for getting him top 3. They're going to win this by 5 goals and solidify that second last position on the ladder. All right, there you go, superstars and legends. That is Peps with Tipped Outs. Round 20 tips for a massive week of AFL football. Couple of things I need to quickly tell you about. We are going to be live on the Facebook page Monday night, 8 p.m. Me and the J-Dog back again looking at over all the stories or everything to come out of a massive week of football. So join us live, obviously listening to the podcasts on all your favorite podcast apps, but also we have now gone officially not just live, but we are uploading our recordings directly onto YouTube. So you can watch, not just hear us, but see our gorgeous faces every single week live on YouTube. So the show notes will have the YouTube link. Jump on there, give us a like, give us a subscribe. It would mean a hell of a lot if you could do that for myself and J-Dog, because we love building this content for you every single week. So hopefully your team wins. I'm Peps. It's Tipped Out. How you want your tips. And a good luck to your team this weekend. See you soon, listeners.